Welcome back to UView, the show dedicated to all things Arlington youth. And welcome to 2021. A new year, a new episode, and new hosts. Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Gracie. I'm a senior at Arlington High School, and I also work in the kitchen here at the Roasted Granola. Today I'm going to be taking you on a little tour of the cafe. Come on in. The important thing to note about the Roasted Granola is that we are first and foremost a granola company, meaning our main source of revenue comes from the granola that's made fresh right here in the kitchen. We sell generally 3 types of granola, which is original, hazelnut cacao, and my personal favorite, maple pecan. We also have a gluten-free granola option. In addition to granola, these shelves usually contain other yummy treats like maple pecans, fig bites, ginger bark, and other kinds of treats. This is the bar counter where we usually have 1 or 2 baristas on staff who make delicious bar drinks like lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, you name it. We also have a pretty impressive tea selection. My favorite drink, I think, is probably either a hot vanilla latte or a spicy mocha. So before the COVID-19 outbreak, the cafe was open to customers to sit down and eat, but unfortunately, like a lot of other businesses, we can only do takeout at the moment. As you can see, we have a pretty vast cafe menu with items like grilled cheese sandwiches, avocado toast, any other kind of toast, soups, and then my favorite is making customizable bowls. So to order a bowl, you basically just select a base of your choosing, which is either oatmeal, yogurt, or smoothie. You then choose what kind of granola you want on top of that, and then you can do any kind of toppings of your choice. So we could do any kind of fruit really, coconut, roasted almonds, chia seeds, or just something to give the bowl a nice crunch. And then you can choose a drizzle to put on top of that. So for example, we do honey, almond butter, maple syrup, or even peanut butter. The Roasted Granola likes to support and promote local artists, which is why we almost always have some sort of art for sale in the cafe. Currently, we have some beautiful paintings for sale by local artist Patricia Crotty. The Roasted Granola is a really popular spot for high school youth, and as it turns out, a really popular employer of high school youth. Unlike a lot of other high school jobs, the Roasted Granola really gives youth the opportunity to gain autonomy and responsibility, and it really just launches them into some really unique leadership positions. Thank you so much for coming with me on a tour of the Roasted Granola Cafe. We are open Wednesdays through Sundays, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're occasionally open until 5 p.m. for baked goods and bar drinks. For more information, you can visit roastedgranola.com about our hours and just the business in general. I absolutely love working here at the Roasted Granola, and I really, really hope you swing by for a bite to eat.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Student Stories, the segment that involves discussion with students and other community members about their work to make Arlington a more positive, welcoming, and all-inclusive place. And today, I'm happy to be joined with Maya Patel-Massini and Noah Sweeter of the Anti-Racism Working Group at Arlington High School. And we are going to be discussing their work to create a more anti-racist culture in the Arlington community. What are some of the group's immediate goals, and how do you define success in the eyes of the AWG?
So the Anti-Racism Working Group's goals is to make the culture at our school more inclusive and friendly for everyone, especially those with diverse backgrounds. It's really easy to just have things be exactly as they are and not address any of the issues that most people don't see because it's not something that they feel. By putting up posters and banners saying Black Lives Matter, by having murals around that represent voices of diverse backgrounds, it makes those people of these marginalized groups feel more inclusive in the community and saying, like, we don't forget about you. We know that you are important. And basically our goals is just to make it clear that we are an inclusive community, and for those who don't feel like they're being represented in the norm, have a seat at the table to make sure that things happen in a way that makes sense for them.
How has your communication generally been with the AHS administration so far? Are you happy with the relationship that you've formed with the administration? And what are some accomplishments that you would consider to be really great that you working with the administration?
Yeah, so in terms of communication, I think I've been a bit surprised by how communicative they have been, and they're always very responsive and happy to meet with us and to help us in any way. One thing that has frustrated me a bit is that at the end of the day, the work that we're doing, for example, I'm leading a group that's looking to reform curriculum. That's work that should be done by administration. We're students, we're not the ones who first of all, we don't have expertise in it, but then also it's not our jobs. Our jobs are to be students and to learn through the curriculum, not to reform the curriculum ourselves. So I think there's frustration in that this is work that should already have been happening and should be done by adults, by professionals.
Now, let's talk specifically about a project that was just announced more recently, and that is the mural project. Maya, I know that you are spearheading this project. How did this idea come about? What was the inspiration for this project?
Right, so my committee, the Everyday Anti-Racist Culture one, we want to increase the visibility of anti-racism and inclusivity, just physically increase the visibility of it. And we see the things like I don't know what they're called, but like the stickers in teachers' classrooms saying that it's a safe space for the LGBTQ community. We want to have that same energy and carry it forward with other voices and other minorities. And we wanted to do something like putting up murals, putting up some artwork of some form to show that this is something that we do care about, very similar to the goal of the AWG in the first place. So Ms. McCullough, she has been so helpful in this process. She drafted the very first thing that we did, and it's an image of Doralee. She was the last year's BSU council member, and she spoke at the BSU rally back in June. And there's this very beautiful image of her speaking with a little bubble that says Black Lives Matter in it. And Ms. McCullough designed that. We had students from different grades come in and help paint it and make it come to life. And there's a lot of positive feedback about this specific mural and why stop at just one, right? So we wanted to involve as many students as possible. So now a whole bunch of students, if they choose, can design stuff that has to do with the Black community as well as Hispanics and other diverse groups, because we want to amplify as many voices as possible. So yeah, and students can get involved with this by emailing me or Ms. McCullough. And basically all you have to do is design your own mural or little projects, say a little description of what it is and what it represents to you and for other people. And yeah, and then it'll eventually come to life.
So my next question is more related to long-term goals of the AWG and how the AWG plans to continue to integrate perspectives from across the student body in promoting an anti-racist culture long-term.
Yeah, so I think part of it is inviting students to come with their own project and their own ideas, but also there are going to be some students who are not as engaged with the stuff, or maybe it's this type of work doesn't interest them as much. And I think that's where outreach comes into play. There's some work being done in the curriculum group to foster conversations surrounding anti-racism in the classroom. So I think that's one way. But also with the visibility, with the art and other projects that are happening in the school, I think it's pretty easy for students to, without even trying to, run into an amazing mural that the Everyday Anti-Racism Culture Group has done, or run into students discussing this cool project that they're working on. So I think the goal is, kind of just the name of the group that Maya's leading, the Everyday Anti-Racism. We want you to walk into Arlington High School and see anti-racism, have it slap you in the face, because that's what we think about it in this school. It's important to us, we value it, and we're going to show you.
We see people who are interested in this stuff and don't exactly know how they can get involved. We see people all the time who are saying like this is important, but they don't really know how to get started. So having the AWG in general just enables people to be able to know what they can do for the future.
So my last question for both of you today is relating to the storming of the Capitol that took place on January 6th. And Obviously, the mob that stormed the Capitol brought many blatant displays of racism with them. And I wanted to ask both of you, what was your reaction to this event that took place, and how does that further inform the work of the AWG as a whole?
I can go first if you want. So first, just seeing this in general was incredibly disgusting for me. It is by far the least democratic thing I've ever seen in my life. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat alike, we should all be agreeing that this is something that should never happen. It's basically it's like when kids don't get their way and they throw a temper tantrum. Like, sorry that the election, like, you lost, and this is how you show your anger, through violence and raiding and destroying national property. Like, that's awful, first of all. Second of all, the fact that we see a Confederate flag, the fact that we see people wearing the 6 million wasn't enough shirts, things like that, it's just so frustrating and makes it more prevalent than ever that we need things like the AWG. We need people who are showing that this stuff still exists. Everyone likes to say, like, oh, we don't need to worry about this anymore because the majority understands that Black lives do matter, blah, blah, blah. But clearly that's not the case. There's people out there who still think this and have very harmful ways of projecting what they believe. And just in general, like, for people who say, like, oh, we don't need to be as aggressive, not as aggressive, but as intense in the AWG, this is exactly why we do need to be intense about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. And I think this is where just the education comes into play, because I would bet that those people who stormed the Capitol carrying those racist flags and messages, they didn't get the education that we got at Arlington High School about diverse voices, promoting diverse voices, valuing, for example, Black people in our history and the history of the United States. And so I think that's where education for example, public education comes into play.
I think the one thing's for sure is that we have a lot of work to do, and that's definitely starts with education reform. And I mean, I'm hopeful that at least in our community that we have a group like you that is taking active steps to promote an anti-racist culture, and hopefully there are other groups that arise that continue to promote anti-racist and anti-racist cultures across the country and continue to make progress, because it is very blatant that we are in a dark place right now. With that, I thank you both so much for joining me today, and I wish you best of luck as you continue to make progress in your group, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to the Creativity Highlight for this episode. My name is Aiden Paramore, and today we will be introducing a talented artist who we are lucky to have as a member of our student body. His name is Theo, but goes by the artist name of T.O. when releasing any of his music. His most recent album, Half Blind, Pretty Much Fine, includes 12 songs which virtually anyone can listen to. We will now be playing a sample from the 7th song in the album, titled Used Up.
This ain't your last night. This ain't your last fight. You stole all guns back. Burn your strong spec. This ain't your last night. This ain't your last.
Now, it's time to take an inside look at the process of creating music, not only from the studio that it was created, but from the original maker of the music, T.O. himself.
Welcome to the official T.O. studio. This actually isn't where I usually work. I usually work out of my bedroom, but we're renting right now while we do renovations on our house, so I actually have this nice little space to work in. Go through the studio. Most importantly, this is my beautiful Squire electric guitar, Elise. I recorded everything on her, and she's gorgeous. This is my dad's old bass he used in like the 80s and 90s when he was in a band, and it somehow still works and gets great recordings. And all of this stuff, and like here's the only mic that I own. All this stuff is like the cheapest stuff you can buy on Amazon, you know? It's like working on a budget. Forces you to be creative, forces you to do things you might not normally do. Got the screwdriver, important, the notebook, the pairs of broken glasses. That's what it's all about. So I'm gonna walk you through a little bit of how I made Used Up, which is one of my favorite tracks on the album, and I think it's one of the most creative but also simple, so you can really look at what I'm doing here. I started all out with this one little guitar line, which I harmonized with some pretty simple but diatonic and nice sounding chords here. Add some glitter with some pianos and some synths, and already I did this all in like 10-15 minutes, and the song's already coming together a lot. And I was making this during a time in quarantine. I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. I was going to bed like super late. I'd stay up all night making music or watching anime or whatever. And every time the sun would rise and the birds would start chirping, I'd get pissed because I'm like, damn, I lost again. And so I wrote the song pretty straightforward about that, like.
I hate the sound of birds chirping more than anything else, and it's too easy to get up out of.
Like if you know the original song, this probably sounds like a seizure to you. And I think one of the things I did, it's so simple, but it gives the song such a unique and effective sound, because it's so slow and sounds like, a sunrise, is I just slow the whole thing down, and then we're left with.
I hate the sound of birds chirping more than anything else, and it's too easy to get up out or stay awake now.
And that's about it. You can listen to the full song on my Spotify or anywhere else. I'm Tio. Give the album a listen if you haven't already. I think it's really good. And thanks to UView for having me. Peace.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pop Debates, where Arlington Youth has the opportunity to debate pop culture. I'm your host, Jasper Zellmer. Today I'm joined by Nat Skaczynski and Theo Hofstrom, who are both a part of the local band Gym Class here in Arlington, and are independent composers. And we will be starting off the new year by debating the best album released in 2020. Nat will be arguing on behalf of the album Positions by Ariana Grande, and Theo will be arguing on behalf of the album Circles by Mac Miller. We're going to jump right into it. I'm going to start out by giving you each 90 seconds to present your argument. Theo, would you like to go first?
Alrighty, let's get started here. So, I can't say I don't love Positions by Ariana Grande. It might actually be my top listened to album of 2020, which is sort of embarrassing. It's beautiful. It's got some nice strings on it, nice songs, but it doesn't have the emotional arc. It doesn't have the heaviness or the real songwriting that Circles does. And now Circles by Mac Miller, it's an incredible album, and it's bittersweet because Mac Miller passed away, I think, in 2018, and he was almost done with this album when he died. And Circles is just this absolutely beautiful album with song after song delivering heavy songwriting, beautiful production, beautiful sounds. I mean, I don't think there's any argument that Positions, just a shallow little pop album with some nice little songs, can beat this emotional, beautifully crafted masterpiece delivered by Mac Miller. Come on. Look, that's all I gotta say.
Okay. Nat, would you like to present your argument?
Well, so Circles by Mac Miller is impeccable album. I do really love the production on that album. But I just think the production roster that Positions boasts, some of the lush like string arrangements, and then Ariana Grande bringing in production from likes of Sophie, Dylan Brady. She also actually got underground Swedish producer Blade and a young protege who goes by Osquin to do some production on her album. And the thing is, I'm really big fans of all those artists. But then Ariana Grande's voice just shines through all these super diverse production styles and just like really drives it home. It sounds like, I don't know, to me, it sounds like music that you'd hear on like a futuristic spaceship. with like shiny walls and stuff. And it's just like, while Circles is really good, I didn't get as much of like a specific like feeling of like a place where I can like sit down and feel like I'm transported somewhere else. And I think both Ariana Grande's voice and the really beautiful string sections there, but also some of the really great production from people in the underground music scene that helped support the album. And Ariana Grande, we go way back. Ari and I.
You do make a great point. Like the blade production on that album, it really does take it into a whole nother zone.
It does, yeah.
A whole nother universe. And it does make you feel like a spaceship. And I'm friends with Ariana Grande too. Like, when I started making music, she was actually one of the first people I produced for.
Interesting.
But I'm just trying to not be biased here. Circles is just better.
Thank you, both of you. Those were solid arguments. Nat, I'm gonna give you a chance to respond to Theo's argument.
Yeah, I think when I'm like listening to Circles, I'm enjoying the album, but there's like some of the songs feel like one long song, which is okay. I like one long song, but when I'm like looking back at both albums, I'm finding more tracks that I can remember from Positions by Ariana Grande than I'm finding like tracks that really stood out to me, songs that made me just want to stand up and dance. And I think that's and she brought a lot of, I think actually so Ariana's own voice on that album, which like I said before, carries it. What's up? Oh, sorry.
Continue. Your 60 seconds aren't up yet.
Okay, cool. Well, I think her voice really does shine through, and I think that's even exemplified by the fact that there are a few features on Ariana Grande's album, but I think that the songs that are solo really, really stand out. And I just think Mac Miller, I love his production style and I love his stuff. I just feel like there's not that one signature touch that I got that good, because some of the artists that were featured on Ariana Grande's album, like Doja Cat, Eric DOA, The Weeknd, Glaive, just like some of those guys, I love those artists too, but Ariana really outshined them.
Okay, awesome, cool. Theo, would you like to respond to that?
This man just, I didn't hear a single word from that. That was just utter nonsense spouting for 2 minutes 60 seconds. I mean, the choice is clear here. Ariana Grande, Nat said it themselves. Every track with a feature on it is weak, and that's almost half the album. Ariana shines bright on the album, but not bright enough to compensate for all these misses. And in an album where it's just, nice pop songs, nice bright pop songs, you can't have that many misses. And Circles, it's steady the whole way through. And that's the only problem with Circles, was that some of the songs felt too long, too monotonous. But when it's emotionally heavy, and when it's, tied together so well with this cohesive sound, that's better than an album that just misses, a couple times. Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I'd like to thank Nat and Theo for sharing their opinions. Please let us know what you think. Thank you all for joining us in this pop debate segment, and we hope to see you next time.
And that's a wrap on this episode of UView. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before you go, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we continue to put out more episodes into the near future. As always, we invite everyone to get in on making the show. To reach out for more information and ways of getting involved, be sure to use the contact info listed in the description. That's all for now. On behalf of everyone, we'll see you next time.